The pelacara, the face peelers in Peru. It's something that the media just kind of just swept under the rug. People have been seeing these creatures where they're notorious. Their signature move is essentially abducting people and peeling their faces off and then discarding their bodies.
Are these like cut with lasers, kind of like the cow mutilations?
Very similar to cow mutilations. Very, very similar. Same MO. There is a video that surfaced online of a man being pulled out of a lake with his face completely missing. You could see the incision right here on his neck. You could see like the inside of his neck, polished white bone all over his skull right here, as if his face was literally peeled off. He didn't have any other injuries on his body besides his face. His face was the only thing that was missing.
Where do these people go missing from? Are they typically people who were by themselves at night?
Yes.
Or are they taken straight out of their bed?
Yep. And so some dude died in front of my house. And how I found out was I saw yellow caution tape being wrapped around the entire road that's right in front of my house. And so what ended up happening was, it was like at 2 a.m. on Sunday night, 2 a.m. I hear a woman screaming to the top of her lungs, and she comes like she's just like running outside doing circles, and I'm like, what the hell? Oh great, another crack addict in front of my house, because I live in a not so great area in Daytona Beach. And so this woman was just running across the street. And just for context, in front of my house is a parking lot. And then in front of the parking lot is like a long winding road, right? That leads to the beach. I'm like about a mile away from the beach. And so this woman just runs towards, I guess, the scene of the crime. And her boyfriend was right behind her. And she was like freaking out, in a state of panic, like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. And just screaming and in utter panic. And I look over to like, cause I'm on I have a 2-story house, and on the second floor, I'm able to get a good vantage point of like what exactly happened out there. And I freaking see a motorcycle on the intersection closest to my house. And I didn't see a body, but turns out, the police arrived there in 5 minutes. Like, shout out to Daytona Beach PD for their response time. Like, literally got there in 5 minutes. And so next thing you know, man, I see the police drawing yellow caution tape. And I don't know about you, and maybe you can enlighten me here, but when they draw yellow caution tape, that's usually a crime scene, right?
Potentially. Or just they're like trying to preserve evidence of some sort, maybe. I'm not sure.
Gotcha.
Or crowd control.
But the street was empty. Like there was barely anybody there. And this was at 2:00 in the morning. Not a lot of traffic was driving through there. And so next thing you know, my wife, she has clinicals on Mondays. And so she drives to clinicals and has to drive through the exact area where the accident happened. And she sees the entire street washed up. There's water everywhere. So I'm assuming that a cleanup crew came and, kind of washed up the street because it was, a bloody mess. But yeah, man, very crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And so you think it was the guy who on a motorcycle?
Yeah. It was definitely a motorcycle. Yeah. I've been looking up like on the internet to see if there's anything that I could find on, like a news article or something, but no, I guess not all.
You should get the Citizen app. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
My girlfriend has it, or my fiance, but it's basically, I don't know how it works, but essentially it in real time shows you on a map all the police going ons nearby. And so you can have the notifications on. And so like we also live in a probably not great area of Phoenix.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend has her notifications on for the Citizen app. And it's like, someone was stabbed 1.2 miles away from you just 2 minutes ago. And it's like,
bro,
yeah, I mean,
over here it'd be like, bing, 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 bing. Someone was beheaded 2 miles away from you. Over here in Daytona Beach, man, you walk over here, bro. It's it's Sussville. For you, I know that you live in an area that's not the best either, right? No. Yeah.
I said keep talking. I'm filling up my vape.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah. So, man, yeah, this area is like really, really not the best. If I'm being honest, it's yeah, it's it's bad over here. Like, I know that I looked. Actually, I got this app. No, it's not an app, but it's a website that you have to pay. I think it's like $20 for, and essentially, what you do is you can see if anyone has ever died in the house that you're in right now. Right? It's called
Mm.
diedinhouse.com or something like that. Yeah,
Very on the nose.
very on the nose. And so, essentially, you look it up and it does like an archival search. Like it searches the deaths that have occurred within the house that you're in. And turns out no one's ever died in the house that I'm in. And my house was built, the house that I'm renting right now, this very house was built in 1928. So about 100 years, almost 100 years of people living here. No one's ever died here. Surprisingly, that's been documented. Yeah. And this,
That's been documented. Yeah.
right.
I mean, would they be documenting back to 2000 or 1928 or whatever?
Yeah, that's the thing though. It does do like, a search past, I believe it's like the 40s and even the
Mm.
30s. So, that's pretty interesting that yeah, that there's something that can show you that. Because I've always wondered like, oh, has anyone ever died, here?
Yeah.
It's something that I
Do you ever hear any weird noises or anything going on in there?
all the time. Yeah, in this house,
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah, yeah. Before I hopped on, but like while I was waiting for you to join, I saw something. You see where that like where this little what is that painting is on the wall? I
Yeah.
saw something like move. It could have just been like like a camera glitch or something, but I saw like a
Mm.
dark mass appear, like very faint, like
Yeah.
opacity lowered to like 2%. But it was weird.
Do you think that a death is required for a house to be haunted?
Honestly, no, because like if you really think about it, there's native burial grounds. You could be standing on a native burial ground right now, right? And you don't
Mm-hmm.
even know about it. So like, I don't think that a house is there has to be a death in order for it to be haunted. I mean, if
Yeah.
anything, wouldn't hospitals be like super haunted? People die there all the time, right? So like, why aren't hospitals, why don't nurses in modern hospitals see ghosts and things like that all the time,
Yeah.
right? I was talking about that with my wife the other day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think that they don't see ghosts, or do you think that they're just so in their own job that they don't notice anything, or that they just write things off as like, oh, that wasn't a ghost, it was just a random logical explanation?
Yeah. Yeah. They probably write it off. I mean, there's so much going on in hospitals that you probably just like, you blow it off as like whatever,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I told you, I growing up, I kept seeing or hearing things that were like paranormal. I've talked about this on previous pods, and I would tell my dad about it. And my dad was always the type of person who would always try to think of a logical explanation. Like in his head, there's always a logical explanation. And some of the times where he wasn't there and I'm just telling him what happened, he would go, I don't care. It was the refrigerator that made that noise. And I'm like, bro, this was not the refrigerator. I heard an old lady cackling from the room that sounded where there was nobody at. Right. But the weird thing about him, I don't know if you've ever heard about peteranswers.com.
No. Mm-mm.
So peteranswers.com is literally this prank website where basically you can type in any question and it'll give an answer, right? It's like a AI psychic, right? And basically what happens is the person typing, they hit a certain key. If you hit the period button, um, you can type the answer to the question and it looks like you're typing out the question while you're typing it, letter for letter, but you're actually typing in the answer. And then when you finish typing in the answer, you hit period again, and then you finish typing the question and you hit enter, and it spits back the answer that you typed in. If you don't type in any answer, it gives you like try again, the spirits are I'm channeling spirits or whatever. It gives you some bullshit answer, right? And so basically I pranked my dad, and I did it smart because I did it a few times where it wasn't giving me a response, and then I did it once or twice where it gave me like a little answer.
Mm,
And for him, someone who completely denies anything paranormal, uh his brain, I could see his eyes just going, does not compute, does not compute, and he had no idea what to make of it. And he literally thought there was a fucking wire in the room. He thought there was a bug somewhere, because we called my stepmom, who he was dating at the time, and she was in another state, and we started answering questions that they would ask over the phone. And my dad was like, turn off the computer right now, there's a camera or something in here, because it was like, what color is my shirt and things
right.
like that. And bro, I've never seen someone freak out so much until I told him it was a prank. But I actually have a theory that he became such a hardcore, maybe denier of anything paranormal, because I think something alien might have happened to him. Have I told you this theory before?
No, your dad?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So get this. I had many conversations with my dad over long road trips. We went on road trips every other weekend because we had a vacation house at the Lake of the Ozarks, which is like 3.5 hours away.
Mm.
My stepmom also lived 4.5 hours away in St. Louis from Kansas City. And basically, on one of the trips, I asked him, I was like, hey, have you ever seen a UFO? And this is before I'm into UFOs. I'm maybe 12 or 15 or something like that, somewhere around that age. And he said, yeah. And he told me about an experience where when he was with his first wife, which was before my mother, he was driving to his parent-in-law's house with his ex-wife, right? And basically they were driving down the road, broad daylight in the middle of Kansas, and he said, we see a flying saucer that's hovering above a tree, maybe 100 yards ahead of us. And he's telling me this story as someone who he denies everything paranormal, right? And he basically says that they saw it, they both acknowledged it, they both talked about it for a little bit. They're like, holy crap, that's crazy, it's a flying saucer or whatever. And he said it kind of zipped off. And when they got to the parents' house, they told her parents about it, and she had no memory of any of it. He said only he remembered it. And he was like, bro, and we talked about it. We both saw it. And she acted like, what are you talking about? I don't remember that. That didn't happen.
Hmm.
Right. And I connected a dot later on because maybe a few years down the road, I'm maybe 17, 18, towards the end of high school. He went to bed early, like 8:30 or 9 p.m. one night. And I go in his bedroom not knowing that he's in there sleeping. And I turn on the lights and he yells, he freaks out. Now, keep in mind, he's a Vietnam vet. Right. And he experienced battle many times, right. As a helicopter pilot. So he maybe has PTSD of some sort, but I've never seen him freak out in a dream like this, or like just with the lights getting turned on, because he's still asleep, but he's yelling for his life or whatever. And I wake up, I'm like, yo, it's okay. I'm sorry. I turn on the lights and I turn them back off. And he goes, oh, you scared the shit out of me. And I was like, were you dreaming about something? Were you having a nightmare? He goes, yeah. I was like, what was it? He goes, I dreamt that I was abducted by aliens, and I was laying on a table and they were standing over me. And when you turn on the lights, it was like the bright lights shining in my face and I could see the aliens or whatever.
Mm.
And I'm like, that's crazy. And what were you gonna say?
What did your dad do in the military? Like, what was his position, or like, his rank?
Lieutenant colonel when he retired.
Gotcha. Do you think he had like some kind of security clearance?
That's a good question, man.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Because you hear of lieutenant colonels in the UFO community, like documents and stuff, like this lieutenant colonel sent this memo to this whatever.
Yeah.
So he was that rank, but that was in the 80s. He retired when I was born in 1990.
He was in the Navy?
Army. And he was actually drafted to the Army out of high school for the Vietnam War.
Oh, wow.
Because he was a foster kid and he wasn't going to college or anything. And he got drafted. Him and his brother got drafted. He was a couple years younger than him. His brother basically was infantry, so they're all on the ground. He was in Vietnam. I think he went a couple times. He actually didn't turn out too well. I mean, he was homeless for many years. broke even to this day. I don't even know if he's still alive, but he was always like into drugs, could never get a woman to marry him, things like that.
Mm,
But he was infantry, he was on the ground, right? And a lot of vets have issues or whatever. But my dad, perfectly normal, high functioning human, high achiever, because when he got drafted, he worked his way up to get into officer school, officer candidacy school, worked his way up through the army, and became a helicopter pilot by the time he went to Vietnam. And I think he went 2 or 3 times.
damn, that's
So then
hardcore.
when he got back, yeah. And well, anyways, on his deathbed, basically, because he got cancer and he died 6 months after he got his cancer diagnosis because it was already stage 4. And basically, while he was going through chemo, I mean, he was a couple months away from death. I basically asked him, like, yo, that one time you told me that story about the UFO, the flying saucer, like, were you making that up or were you telling the truth? And he said it was true. And
Wow.
so I wonder if there was some memory loss in his wife, and maybe that was a memory recall that
Mm.
he was having in that dream.
Hey,
I don't know, just a
it
theory.
could be. Yeah, he probably did see something. Isn't that crazy? How many people see things? Like people that that have seen things. Your own dad. That's crazy.
It's just a theory. I mean, I can't confirm that, right? I'm just
Yeah.
connecting dots here.
Right. Right. Right.
A black hole
A
theory,
black hole theory. Where did he see that UFO?
It was in Kansas.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's pretty crazy. Considering that your dad is literally the biggest skeptic. It kind of reminds me of, you ever seen Paranormal Activity? I think it was Paranormal Activity 2, where literally the whole house, all the freaking cabinets flung like open, and like everything was like going crazy around the house. Things were being thrown off of shelves, and then
Yeah.
some dude said, "Oh, it's the wind."
That would have been my dad.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
your dad.
wonder if he became so hardcore skeptic because maybe he had an experience that he couldn't explain and didn't want to accept it as reality.
Yeah.
I mean, Lou Reviews, he said himself, he saw a UFO. I mean, how many people, I'm not even joking about Lou Reviews, but I mean, hardcore skeptic, but he saw a UFO, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't know.
And no, in my
And that's,
hometown too, in Cooper City, where
yeah.
I grew up, like I left Cooper City when I was 24. So like, yeah, and I never saw anything in Cooper City. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Bro, I was talking to my barber about this the other day.
fresh cut.
I was talking about this. Thank you, man. It's a podcast that hasn't come out yet, so I don't want to say what it is, but it's a pretty big podcast. Maybe it'll drive some viewers to this podcast. Who knows? I did bring it up because I was talking about the Lou Review situation of when he was on the pod, and I explained myself. Not that I feel the need to explain myself, because as far as I know, I mean, Lou hasn't said anything bad about the pod or whatever. But I mean, has he messaged you?
No. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
He probably hasn't even seen it. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but anyways, we were talking about it on the pod, and I could tell that Julian was choosing carefully what he was going to say. And both of us were at the same time, because I'm not trying to like bash the guy at all, but it's funny because I'm like, I wonder if this is going to start. I wonder if he's going to get mad once it blows up because of the podcast that I was just on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, it's a possibility. He follows him. I don't know if he keeps up with his content like routinely, but I think he does. He does. He does.
I think they're friends.
Are they? Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think Lou also basically bashes that MH370 guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Did I get that flight number right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Close enough.
Okay. The thing about the MH370, I don't know anything about this dude. I
Yeah.
did see those videos flashing across Twitter while it was all going on, a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago or whatever.
Yeah.
But I immediately wrote it off as bullshit, right? And that, like, that's the whole drama, is that Julian had the guy on, and then I guess well, I guess I said the guy's name, but and then I guess afterwards he didn't believe it or whatever, and
Yeah.
that's why the guy got mad or whatever. But I'll be honest, like, I didn't even get that far into the UFO drama of that, because immediately when I saw it, I was like, what are the chances that they had a fucking video camera pointed at this thing the moment it disappears, right?
So
So,
that's question number one, right? Like,
okay.
who was recording that? Who was recording the plane? Was it a national weather camera? Who was recording it? I'd like
Are
to
those
know.
cameras though? Do they have
I
cameras for
think
that?
I think they do. I like around
Or
air
are they like sensors of some sort?
could be like a sensor or something. But my question is, right? If you want to confirm the authenticity of the video, what was the source? What was the thing that was recording that? Right?
Did the guy ever answer that question
I'm
or
not
attempt to?
sure. I from what I saw, I don't think they ever even asked that question. Yeah,
Hmm.
from all the podcasts that I've watched on it, and I think I saw the Concrete podcast, the one with Danny
There's
Jones.
podcasts on it.
Yeah, there's whole pod.
Well,
There's
I guess he was on Julian's podcast.
Yep, yep. He was on Julian's, and then Danny Jones, his friend, brought him in. He had like the Concrete podcast. He brought him in, and then
Yeah.
he had that. I don't think that he asked that question though. Like, who filmed? I could be wrong though. Like, who filmed that video? Right? What filmed that
Yeah.
video?
And
So
how did he get a hold of it? Did he ever say how he got a hold of the footage?
I think he didn't get a hold of it. I think he just found it online and started becoming obsessed about it, and then kind of like analyzing it and found that it was like authentic. Yeah.
Here's my issue with the whole thing. And I guess this is why, and Julian, when I basically told him about it, he's like, it's good that you stay out of the UFO community drama. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of in my own lane. Like before this fucking podcast today, I've been sitting here in front of a computer editing my fucking Puma Punku video,
Hey.
and I'm fucking balls deep in that. We can talk about that a little bit,
Yeah.
but I want to finish the loop. Basically, my issue with the people who are into UFO Twitter community drama is that when there's a community that forms, you got to be very careful of confirmation bias, because once people start confirming their own beliefs within a community, anything that contradicts that confirmation of their belief is like they shut it out, they shun it. This is the whole issue with mainstream academia kind of denying a lot of like the ancient alien theory stuff, a lot of the stuff that I've been doing videos on, like
Right.
Puma Punku, like the pyramids, like the Sphinx, like Gobekli Tepe, like the history of Atlantis, right? If it contradicts the mainstream view, which is everything that these people have been taught and have studied and have believed their entire lives, when someone says, oh, ancient aliens, oh, his advanced ancient societies thousands and thousands of years before while we were in the Stone Age, right? They just shun it. They shut it out immediately, right? And you see that to a very high extreme within the UFO community. Lou Reviews, as an example, no shade on him, but the fact that he's seen a UFO himself and was a hardcore believer, but then completely changed his viewpoint, not because of new evidence, but because of his emotional response to something that happened with another human being. Right. And if there's one thing about humans, is that we are emotional creatures. We make rash, impulsive decisions sometimes, but you can't let that get in the way of science. And that's what people like myself, like you, like anybody who actually takes this topic seriously is trying to do, is scientifically, can we gather enough evidence to confirm or deny the fact that there are UFOs? And then once we get there, then we can start gathering more evidence about what is the origin of these things. And the whole conspiracy is the fact that the US government has likely already been going down this rabbit hole for what, 80 years, 70 years? Yep. And so they are probably really far along. And that's why the UFO community exists, is because we all have a mutual interest. But when you start letting your views on things get shifted by your emotions, that's the danger there. And then the MH70 guy, 370, let's say he did find that footage, but because he is so believing in it, the fact that anybody even denies its validity evokes such an emotional response that he is essentially, I don't know, there's all this drama going on. I don't even want to get in the weeds with it.
Yeah.
But I just, the point is, you can't let your emotions get in the way of people trying to scientifically analyze this and trying to remain as unbiased as possible. I'll even say myself, I don't 100% believe that they're aliens. Why is that? Because if I was 100% believer, And this is the whole topic that we brought up with Lou Reviews on that episode. If I was 100% believer, I almost couldn't trust my own opinions, right? So
Right.
I have to have a healthy level of skepticism. I'll say I'm in the high 90s for sure. And depending on what day, it's 99.99% or 96%, right? But it's never below that, because obviously I'm into this shit. I'm down this rabbit hole. I've
Yeah.
experienced paranormal things that I can't explain. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you, but I do think that they're aliens, bro. I think
What
they're
makes you
aliens,
think that?
bro. I mean,
Because
the
yeah,
I mean, it's literally common sense. I mean, if you really do think about it, we did not create this technology. Period. Period. Can you agree with me on that?
I, I can't agree with you on that because I don't have any evidence from who created it or who didn't create that. And that's the thing. I can
So
I
you
can side with you.
single-handedly think that the human race created anti-gravity technology and the technology that these craft utilize. You really do think that we created it ourselves, humans, without any kind of help from any outside civilization?
I can't confirm or deny, not because I have knowledge, but because I don't have knowledge. And that's the point.
Hmm.
I don't know what I don't know, meaning I can't rule out possibilities. It, when I look at a site like Pumapunku, which I've been obviously researching for months, working on this video. And by the way, this is the last documentary style video I'm going to be doing for a while because I want to start pumping out more regular content.
Yep.
I've already decided that. But while this video is being worked on, I'm just going to tell you it's a fucking banger already. So,
That intro you sent me, yeah.
I want to get into that, but and remind me to get into it.
Yeah.
But the more I've researched this site, the more I believe that it's evidence of advanced ancient technology that was likely human. Again, I can't say where they might have gotten it, right? It could have very well been aliens.
Mm-hmm.
But again, with the way you phrase the question, right? It was phrased as if, do I 100% absolutely believe it's aliens? I would say I'm 95%. But I have a healthy level of skepticism because I can point out more examples if you'd like, of something that tells me that humans have had this for a long time.
Right.
And again, I don't know where they got it.
Yeah. I'm bought in. I don't know where they got it, but I'm bought in. I'm bought in on the fact that we have been visited by other life forms that are intelligent, right? Whether they're bipedal, whether they're, insectoids or reptilians or, whatever kind of intelligent life that's out there, we've been visited by other beings. And, the evidence is just, I think it's just too much to say that we haven't been visited. Just that alone, just that we've been visited at some point in history, whether it be now, whether it be 40 years ago, 100 years ago, thousands of years ago. I think that there's just too much evidence to say that we haven't been visited, period. So,
yeah.
I mean, look at all these ancient structures. And Pumapunku is just scratching the surface. It really is.
Can we talk about Pumapunku?
Yeah. Let's talk about Pumapunku.
Okay.
Dude, so you really gotta like tell me about it, because I know that there's these stones. They're like, it's a site in where is it?
Well, I want to transition from what you were saying because there is a related point here, on if they're aliens. I mean, before we get into the site, do you want to hear the official story of how the people who are indigenous to the area say Pumapunku was created?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So, according to the indigenous population who found the stones already in ruins when they were there, the Inca arrived about 500 years after whatever civilization mysteriously disappeared. And that's the thing, is they call it the Tiwanaku civilization because it's in Tiwanaku, Peru, or Bolivia, not Peru. It's in Tiwanaku, Bolivia. And the Inca were the first known civilization, first recorded civilization in the area, and they arrived about 500 years after whatever civilization created Pumapunku mysteriously disappeared. So they put the unknown label of Tiwanaku civilization, quote unquote, for whatever created the Pumapunku stones. But there were the people called the Aymara, who was kind of in the area at the time, so they co-inhabited the area, and they claim, and they've passed these traditions down through verbal stories, because even back then there was no written records. There was no written records at all found from whoever built Pumapunku, and they claim that it was built in a single night by the god Viracocha, who came out of Lake Titicaca, which is the largest body of water in South America. Lake Titicaca, yes, exactly how it sounds. I actually think they call it that because they believe that Pumapunku was like the first ever civilization of humans ever, right? And they think that humans were created there. And so the fact that these gods came out of Lake Titicaca, they might have called it that because Titicaca, reproduction, the origin of humans, if you feel
Uh,
me. Yeah.
Titicaca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they claim it was built in a single night by the god Viracocha with his army of giants, and
That's crazy.
eventually, yeah. Um,
So, okay. So, modern day, where is this again?
so this is in Tiwanaku,
Tiwanaku.
Bolivia, which is in South America.
Gotcha. Okay. And what's so like, it's not one of the wonders of the world, is it?
It's it's not, but it very well should be,
Hmm.
because the monoliths here range in size. There's very small rocks all the way up to large megaliths, and the largest ones were used as the platform stones
Hmm.
to like be the floor basically of whatever structures were there, and these were carved with eerie precision to where even the platform stones fit together much like the pyramid stones, where you can't fit a razor blade between them.
Hmm.
And a lot of these stones are perfectly preserved, so because they were buried underground, right? A lot of them were buried underground, and we can get into why that is. But and some of the stones were above ground, and some of the stones were in like just they look like they were scattered across the landscape, like a big explosion happened. But these platform stones are where they were originally were, and the largest one of those is 180 tons, which is more than double the largest stone inside of the Great Pyramid. So it very well should be one of the wonders of the world. But that's the thing is, most people, unless they watch my video or have seen like the Ancient Aliens episode about it, they probably haven't even heard of it, because I think for the most part, the mind-blowing facts about it get somewhat denied or ignored by mainstream academia.
Hmm.
So it's very much under wraps, in my opinion.
So, what's the leading theory as to why it was built in one night? Like, what's your leading theory?
Well, that goes hand in hand with the story from the Aymara, who eventually merged with the Inca, uh, and those are the people who are indigenous to the area today. And the Aymara, their whole thing is basically was ancient aliens. They thought of it as the gods, and the reason why this fits into ancient aliens is because they refer to Viracocha, and there's depictions of Viracocha all over this place on many of the stones, or on some of the stones. The thing about Pumapunku is it's one small section of a very large site of megaliths. And so if you've ever heard of Tiwanaku, you've heard of the temple complex, the Sun Gate. These are like the tourist areas, but you have to go about a quarter of a mile away into an empty field just to see Pumapunku. Thing about Pumapunku is those stones very enigmatic in themselves. Just the geometric shapes, they almost look like they were carved using lasers, because the corners and the edges are so sharp even to this day, and the surfaces are flat, like smooth as glass, right? So anyways, but in the other site that most of the tourists know about with the Sun Gate and all that, there's a bunch of carvings of Viracocha. They refer to Viracocha as one of the watchers, or the Watcher, because eventually they said that he eventually, after teaching things like agriculture and science and astronomy to the people, basically went back and disappeared over the lake where he came from. So essentially, the Watcher, they think of him as the Watcher because they say that he's still out there observing from above
Mm.
the people of Tiwanaku and looking over them as one of their gods or whatever, right? And they think of him as the god of creation. Well, anyways, the Watcher is a very specific term that goes back to the book of Enoch, which talks about these fallen angels known as the Watchers, who came down. They taught people agriculture, science, things like that, and moral codes. And essentially, they started finding the females of the human race very attractive. I mean, I can't blame them. I mean, this is basically in reverse what we were talking about earlier. Like, they landed on the planet with very attractive aliens, right? We're the aliens in this case, right? And so they started mating with these. This is from the book of Enoch. The Watchers started mating with the human females, and they created a hybrid race known as the Nephilim, which is also referred to in the Bible and the book of Enoch. And the Nephilim are basically a race of giant humans. They're giants, right? So think about Viracocha and his army of giants building Pumapunku in one night, right? You also got Goliath from David and Goliath inside the Bible. The Bible basically openly talks about there was once giants at one point in time. So even if you're a hardcore Christian, you have to at least submit to that, right? And so
even in Greek philosophy, the Titans.
Right. Yeah. The giants are within a lot of religions and also gods that live in the sky, right? But essentially, here's where it gets really crazy: is Pumapunku, whatever it once was, is no longer intact because all the stones are scattered across the landscape. The stones of Pumapunku very likely were structural stones of whatever stood at the temple at Tiwanaku, like about a quarter mile away. So these stones were blown away somehow, right? And one theory is that it was a great flood that would have basically washed over this land with water and scattered these stones. It would have been able to do so if it completely engulfed the site. And that's why a lot of the stones were scattered, oriented in very different ways. Some of them were partially buried. Some of them are fully buried. Some of them are still buried underground to this day. So they think it was a great flood. Here's where it gets interesting. In the Bible, the reason why Noah's Ark happened was because of a great flood that was coming that God informed him of to build this ark, right? But the reason why was because of these giants and these in unpure humans. And he wanted to rid the earth of these fucking things. So if Viracocha was one of the Watchers and the Watchers came down and started mating with humans, then it's very understandable that a flood likely would have occurred sometime after and completely decimated the area. And this fits into lore going back, across the world and in basically every major religion.
Damn, my mind is blown. Is there volcanic activity in the area?
Yep.
There
Why do
is?
you ask?
Because I'm thinking, like, maybe another reason for the destruction of it is probably, of course, natural disasters and tsunamis.
So I talk about this directly in the video when it comes out. Hopefully it comes out before this podcast. If not, regardless, I'll probably pin this podcast in the comments or something. But essentially, what's interesting about your volcanic question is, yes, there is volcanic area. There's a major volcano in the area. But here's what's interesting about that. There are two types of stones found at Pumapunku and Tiwanaku: red sandstone and andesite. All right. Red sandstone was used for the large stones, the platform stones, right? So these are 100+ tons. And the andesite makes up a lot of the smaller structural stones, many of the Pumapunku stones. the thing about andesite and the fact that these things are cut with such eerie precision, there's drill holes and there's channels going through these things. There's the drill holes are very tiny and some of them are very large and they go straight through some of these like perfectly cubed stones with smooth surfaces and sharp corners. The thing about both andesite and red sandstone is that both of them are too hard to be cut with copper tools or chicken bones, whatever technology would have been available at the time that these were created. They say it was created about 500 years before the Inca inhabited the area. There's a lot more theories that we can get into that actually confirm it's at least 15,000, if not 17,000 years old. Some of them go back all the way to 25,000 BC as far as when these were created. And that's definitely a whole rabbit hole on its own. So we should get to that. But the thing about andesite and red sandstone, one, they couldn't have been cut even if they were built with a technology of 500 years before the Inca came in the area, which is around 500 AD. But the andesite, they know that it came from a quarry 56 miles away that would have required traveling across Lake Titicaca, the largest body of water in South America, at 13,000 feet above sea level. So this thing is very high up in the mountains. Like you have to acclimate just to fucking go on a walk there.
Shit's a workout.
You know? So it's at 13,000 feet above sea level. And yes, Lake Titicaca, the largest body of water, is at that elevation. So the andesite is actually a volcanic stone. It came from the top of a volcano 56 miles away on a path that would have required traveling over Lake Titicaca. And the red sandstone came from a quarry about, I think it was 8 miles away. But that path would have required traveling over a mountain range. And these are 100-ton stones.
So the question is, how did these stones get there? Right?
There's a lot of questions. The questions are, how did the stones get there? How did they cut these stones? How did they move these stones? Another thing, the andesite that came from the volcano is magnetized. It's not a naturally magnetic stone. It's a stone that's formed out of magma drying and forming into rock over thousands and thousands of years. It's not a magnetic stone. And these stones are magnetized so much to where a lot of them have like grooves and divots and little holes in them or little pockets in them.
Right.
And you can stick a compass in there and the compass will start spinning when you stick it inside. And so there's that's one thing about the andesite stones that does kind of not get talked about by mainstream academia. One person specifically I know has really made it known that these are magnetized and has been posting about it for over a decade, Brian Forrester on his YouTube channel. And they even talked about it a little bit on Ancient Aliens, showing like these compass goes into the stone and it spins or whatever. There's no theory on how these became magnetized. Some people say if they came into contact with aliens or extraterrestrials, maybe the radiation might have done it. Another theory is whoever built the site intentionally made the magnetic, the andesite stones, which probably made the structural stones, not the platform stones. And I think maybe potentially because there was no concrete or mortar used, they magnetically stick together like magnets, potentially. But who knows? They also think that the site might have been an area for collecting heavy metals out of water. So they think a lot of water came through the area by design. And so they think that it was used for collecting like rare and precious and heavy metals out of the water. Maybe the magnetizing of the stones could have drawn some of those metals out. Who knows?
Honestly, bro, it sounds to me like you're seeking a career in geology.
I'm not. This is the level of research that has to go into one of my videos, which is why it takes me so long to make videos. And I think at least for the next 6 months, let's say, I'm probably going to be prioritizing videos that don't involve as much research, but still kind of keep up the interesting vibe that I got going on my channel.
Yeah, it's fun to dive deep into rabbit holes. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
fun.
I mean,
Sometimes it
I
could
could go
just
on for days
yeah
about Puma Punku because of the level of like I've watched pretty much every documentary there is out there on it. I've read at least 2 books on it and a couple of scientific papers and things like that. Um, so I've done a lot of research for this. Too much,
yeah
and I think for me it's because you have to in order to put together a script like the way I'm scripting these videos. You
yeah.
know,
How long do you think the video is going to be? End up being
25 minutes,
25 minutes.
maybe 26.
That's solid. That's digestible.
Yeah. Well, because of that new intro,
Mm.
which if anybody's watching this has already seen the video, because hopefully it'll be out by now or by then. Um, that intro is was filmed maybe a week or two after the rest of the video because I got the idea to make a really badass intro leading into the main script. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of progress made as far as the research. I'm really still needing to get balls deep into the edit, but I'm projecting about 26, 27 minutes.
Nice. The intro was fire. The one that you sent me. So whatever you got cooking there,
Should I show you what I
thumbs
got
up,
right now
bro. Yeah,
on the pod?
yeah. Why
Sneak
not?
peek before the video comes out.
Why not?
Okay. This
This is a world premiere, first time, exclusive. Black Hole Theories exclusive.
it's changed a lot since I showed you what I had. Um
You're looking
let's
tan,
see.
bro. You've been out, looking for stones.
Dude, I've been exercising outdoors a lot lately. Um
Yeah, looking good, man. Looking fresh.
Thank you. Here's the thing. I only have the intro done at this point because the intro took so much fucking work and editing, and like I said, it was made after the fact because I got the idea for it. So let me figure out how to share my screen and then just make it so where you can see it. I never used to question history.
You cannot say this isn't a mystery.
Ancient architecture, old buildings,
This was machined, but who machined it?
the origins of humanity, settled matter in dusty textbooks. Then
Pumapunku. What a mind fuck that place is.
every stone, every carving leaves more questions than answers.
What is the biggest block? 125 tons.
Jesus Christ!
How?
No one can solve the mystery.
Why?
This just can't be done with stone hammers.
Who?
If anything looks like ancient aliens, it's this stone.
It could be hundreds of thousands of years old. We don't know.
This is the story of Puma Punku. Let's go down the rabbit hole.
Nice.
Could you hear the audio?
Yeah, that was sick, dude. Yo, the text is fire. I like the
Took way too long.
really. I like the 2D, 3D effect, like the red and the. You added some kind of like I don't know, color gradient on the text.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, dude.
I mean, I've been working on that for probably 48 hours straight with very little sleep.
Damn.
Yeah, it's been.
Hats off,
and,
man.
And I also had to take a couple of days off just to figure out what to do because I kept trying things and it just didn't look good in my opinion. And then I literally finished that right before we hit record today. And now I got to edit the rest of the video.
Damn. Yeah. Hats off, man. Pretty fwag. I like
Thanks,
it.
man.
I dig it. Yeah, I'm excited to watch it and just learn more about Puma Punku because it is very fascinating to me. I haven't done anywhere near as much research as you have on the Puma Punku stuff or any, really like any geological kind of thing, mystery or, for ancient architecture or ancient kind of mysteries. But I do want to dive into a few. I'm kickstarting. I'm cooking up a motherfucking extraterrestrial, bro, with Adrenalis. If I'm being honest, yeah.
You like? You mean you have your wife's pregnant? What are you saying? You're cooking up an extraterrestrial?
Yeah, with Adrenalis. No more, no more for me.
Okay.
At least for now.
Is that what she calls you in the bedroom? What do you mean you cooking up an extraterrestrial?
Yeah, I'm cooking up something out of this world for Adrenalis.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you want
definitely.
to get into it?
Yeah, totally. So I'm gonna be telling stories. It's gonna be very, very minimal editing, right? Um, it's kind of be it's gonna be there's gonna be some edits in it, but it's gonna be more of a smooth beginning, middle, and end story, right? Without me giving my own opinion on it, right? I'm actually gonna do something a little bit creative with towards like the end of the video, where if people really like the story and want to hear my thoughts on it, they can either check out the pod or they can check out my second channel called Adrenalis Afterthoughts, which is where I'm going to be kind of giving my own my own take on the story that I talk about. For example, in this recent episode that I'm working on, that I finished the script, I just gotta really hit record, is the Pelacara story, the face peelers in Peru. I really went down the rabbit hole, and it's something that the media just kind of just swept under the rug. Very, very interesting story. Yeah.
Peru is very close in South America to where Bolivia is, and there's a lot of I know ancient megalithic sites in Peru as well. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. And like there's a lot of like legends down there. And one of them is the Pelacara. One of them is the Pelacara. People have been seeing these creatures. You could call them cryptids if you want, or whatever you want to call them. But people have been seeing these creatures where they're notorious. Their signature move is essentially peeling off this, abducting people and peeling their faces off, and then discarding their bodies, for them to be found. Sometimes people find them in the river. Sometimes people find them out in the forest.
And
And
are these like cut with lasers, kind of like the cow mutilations?
very similar to cow mutilations. Very, very similar. Same MO. Same exact MO.
Huh.
Yeah, very, very
Have they ever
weird.
found a face?
I don't think they've ever found the face, but they have found the bodies of the missing faces. And every single time it's like laser like precision. They usually start here in the neck, and then they use that to kind of peel off the face. And when they discover the bodies, there's no trace of blood around the incisions. There is no evidence of, sometimes the bodies are found without any blood in them, similar to how, the chupacabras, right? How they drain the blood of the victim entirely. Whether this be some kind of creature that has a means of doing something so gruesome and so clean, something is definitely intelligent that is doing this, because they're using sophisticated either laser equipment or something. It's pretty interesting, the story, the Pelacara story that happened last year. There was this girl, her name is Talia. She was a 14-year-old girl, and she was essentially almost abducted by these creatures. She's a normal girl, in a very small village in Peru, in the Amazon, in the Amazon technically. And she technically, this tribe, it's called the Kitu tribe. They're a tribe of about 1,300 people, so kind of, a mid-size village. And over the past several weeks leading up to Talia's attempted abduction, the villagers, they would see things kind of invading their village. They would see these beings, right? They would call them extraterrestrials because they had no other word to put on it, right? They would describe them as having very large heads, wearing armor, all black armor, head to toe. And one interesting factor of the case was that they were hovering on circular pads, and they would try to abduct people. People in the village, they are lucky enough to have, a means of defense, including shotguns and rifles and things like that. And so every time that they would shoot these creatures, they would just like kind of like fall back and then get back up almost as if they have some kind of defense system. Very, very interesting. So for Talia's abductions, long story short, and I tell it in the video, it was like at about 6:30 at night. She was getting ready to have some dinner, right, at night in her village. And her brothers were out in the front porch. She went to the kitchen to go serve herself some food. And so she sets down her plate on the dinner table, and then she wants something to drink. She realizes that she's thirsty, so she heads outside and goes to this tree. Right. Luckily, there they have access to plenty of fruit. I mean, it's the Amazon. They have very lush forestry there. And so she has a grapefruit tree in her backyard. And so she goes over to the grapefruit tree to pick up a couple of fruits from it so that she can make herself some grapefruit juice. And so as she's picking up the grapefruit from the tree, leaves start rustling around her, almost as if there's like a tornado forming around her. Right. And then she bends over to grab a grapefruit, and as she's realizing all these leaves flying everywhere, she turns her head and she sees this 7-8 foot tall hovering entity that essentially approaches her, grabs her, right, and attempts to cover her mouth. And he does. So he covers her mouth, and she's struggling, she's trying to fight her way out of it, and he essentially just restrains her. She's trying to scream. She can't move. Another entity comes up out of nowhere, right? Same description as what the villagers saw over the past several days. Large heads, black armor, head to toe, very, very tall, 7 feet. And so next thing you know, man, she's like she's fighting these assailants, trying to, fight her way through. The other entity grabbed her legs, and then they proceed to kind of prepare her face for the incision, essentially. So they pull out something out of their boot. They put like some kind of mixture on her hand, on their hand, and then they essentially withdraw like a nasal syringe. They withdraw like the liquid from the solution that they concocted, and then they inject it into her nose, right? And so next thing you know, she's like, she can't breathe. She has like this white phlegm dripping down her nose. She's disoriented. And then they pull out the scalpel, and then they try to essentially start the incisions on her neck. And they actually started creating the incisions right here on her neck. And she has like, there's actual photographic evidence online that shows it. And so, they end up trying to, cut her up. And next thing you know, she somehow finds her way escaping and starts screaming at the top of her lungs, screaming, help, help, help. And luckily for her, right at the nick of time, her brothers roll up, and the assailants just take off, and they hover. That's the word that was used, is that they hover and then they take off. And so whether this be humans, whether it be extraterrestrials, we don't really know. But the Peruvian military went over to the village 2 days later after the incident, or several days later after the incident, to investigate, see what's going on. Maybe they could find some footprints or some kind of evidence of, what these beings are. And they dismissed it as being illegal cartel gold miners in Amazon that have sophisticated technology. Right. And so, that their primary aim is to ward off the villagers, to keep them away from their operations and from their gold mining efforts. So, whether that be a cover up, it smells like it to me that it is a cover up, because I mean, like, they're trying to peel their faces off for why, right? What reason?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So,
I don't know what to make of it. Like, what do you make of it?
from what I gather, man, I think that it is something that the way the story is explained, it really does make me think that these are kind of humans. Uh, they call them gringos in Latin America, because apparently Talia said that one of them was speaking English, and one of the entities, and she's like the only person that's ever reported that these beings speak, which is interesting. Could be kind of like a coping mechanism while she was dealing with the trauma of, I don't know, being abducted. Um, and so I really don't know, man. I do think that they could be human. They could definitely be human with sophisticated anti-gravity technology that, but for what reason would they want to peel the face off? It really is like a mystery. It really is a mystery.
What if it's a black market thing?
Yeah, but like who's selling faces, bro? I mean, I understand organs, right? But
Yeah.
these beings were intentionally cutting her trying to cut her face off, with like, you know, with a laser scalpel. And yeah, and then a couple days later, and I don't know if this happened before or after, but there is a video that surfaced online of a man being pulled out of a lake with his face completely missing, like completely. And you could see the incision right here on his neck, and you could see like the inside of his neck, and like polished white bone all over his skull right here, completely right here around the perimeter of his face, as if his face was literally peeled off. And what's interesting about the case with Talia is that these beings, while they were snorting that liquid and that mixture up her nose, they were also smearing it on their hands and applying it all over their face, all over the perimeter of her face, not necessarily like around her eyes or anything like that, but like around her face, right? As if they were getting ready to kind of peel her face off. She didn't feel the incision on her neck. So it more than likely was a numbing agent that they were applying on her face so that she doesn't, necessarily feel the pain. So at least they have some kind of empathy, right? For what it's worth. But yeah, what's crazy is that people have been found with their faces completely in off. And then people would say, oh, yeah, he was dragged out of the river and piranhas chewed away at his face. But we know what piranha attacks look like. And yes, there are piranhas in the Amazon, right? There are piranhas. Like that's a real thing. But the way that this man, he didn't have any other injuries on his body besides his face. His face was the only thing that was missing. And so,
Where do these people go missing from? Are they typically people who were by themselves at night,
yes.
or are they taken straight out of their bed?
Yep. They're people that are typically alone by themselves, which in this case, Talia, she was by herself right outside where there wasn't anybody around. Her family was in the front porch, and she was kind of like in the backyard, by herself picking up grapefruit. And I'm assuming that these assailants, they saw the opportunity and they took it to try to abduct her, but they weren't very successful. And what really makes me question, the fact that these beings are actually humans and not extraterrestrial, really points me in that direction, is that they failed, right? And if you're an extraterrestrial or some kind of other entity and you come to try to abduct, and you're using all these sophisticated technologies, I mean, there's a chance that the room for failure is probably 0.0000001. And I don't know if that's just me speculating, but in my
I mean, it's
opinion,
definitely you speculating.
it is.
This is
Yeah.
all speculation.
Yeah.
Speculation.
Yeah, it's all speculation. It's all speculation for sure. But what I can tell you is that to this day, Talia still suffers from symptoms of PTSD. She is struggling to go to school. She is having nosebleeds every single day, almost every single day. She gets headaches, and then they're accompanied by the nosebleeds. And so, she yeah, they're a very poor village over there. I mean, she's trying to get psychological help for what she saw.
How
Um,
recent is this?
This was in June of 2020, June and July of 2023. So last year. And she was just recently interviewed in January. And she still struggles with the incident. And anyone would, really, man. Like that's traumatizing for anyone to go through that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does it only happen in Peru?
So the pelacara is, I know that it's happened. Yeah, it's native to that area in Peru. Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, if you look up pelacara or face peelers on Google, there isn't much for you to find. There really isn't. I had to dig deep.
I'm wondering how did you find out about this?
Timothy Alberino. Yeah,
who's that?
So he is an author and he is an explorer. He kind of looks like a badass Indiana Jones. Really, really cool, deep, very good looking guy, in my opinion. But yeah, he's killing it. Yeah, he's the one that he actually went and interviewed Talia after her abduction. He grew up in Peru. Not didn't grow up. He went to Peru when he turned 18, and he lived there for like several years. And I'm not sure why exactly, but he's the one that kind of broke the story out to the public. And I've just been like digging through the crevices ever since I learned about it and learning more and more about it. But it's very interesting. It's a very interesting story. I really think.
What about what is it? What aspect of that story is like the most intriguing to you? Like the thing that got you to really go into the rabbit hole?
Yeah. So what really got me to go into it was just like the vulnerability of the tribe and how there are little things here and there that we can speculate on, whether it be mere coincidence or, maybe there's something to it. But apparently there was a deployment. I think it was the Navy, if correct. I don't know if I'm right here, but I think it was the Navy. They were deployed right before the Pelacara incident started. And they were deploying them to conduct some drills in Peru. Yeah, during that time, a little bit before the Pelacara sighting started. And of course, people can go down the rabbit hole of maybe these things are actually just, secret experimental American technology. And maybe the Americans are fucking with, the natives over there, trying this technology out, the laser scalpels and the jetpacks, or not even jetpacks, because there was no sound to these devices that they were using. They're silent. And so, yeah, it's pretty interesting, man. It's very interesting. I what really did lead me down the rabbit hole was that A, no one's talking about it, and B, the Pelacara story is so unheard of, and I feel like there should be more talk about it, especially to what happened to these people. They weren't the only village that was invaded. There's other tribes that were invaded and by these Pelacara, and there were other abductions as well. So I think that cattle mutilations and even now human mutilations, I think that they're all very interesting to me because it's scary. It's scary. Like, it's scary. Imagine just like, just walking your dog, and something just takes you, and next thing you know, you got a missing face.
Yeah, I mean, it is scary, so I try to not think thoughts like that on the regular. But thanks for that. I think I'm just as scared as encountering a bear in the woods. I think that would be just as scary.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but here you're at a crazier disadvantage because here you got, it's kind of like it's a bird that's like can make you its prey at any given point. And yeah, it's just, yeah, it's trippy, man. It's scary. But yeah, man, there's other abductions that have happened, and there's other legends in South America. That's just one of them that really hasn't gotten like the attention that it deserves, and that's why I'm making a story about it.
Mm. Do you think? Did you originally think it was extraterrestrials?
Yeah, and I do think that it's still a possibility. I'm leaning more towards that they're kind of like human. Um, the whole thing about like the gold miners and like the cartel, I find that to be kind of bullshit because how would these cartel, unless they're contracted by the CIA and maybe there's some funky business going on, how would they have access to these kinds of technologies? Right? I mean, it's not the first time we would hear a story about, you know, some kind of a 3-letter agency doing something kind of sus
Yeah.
with money, right?
I mean, I don't think anybody's buying the cartel
Yeah,
version.
I don't think so.
If what you're saying is how it went down, but
Yeah, I don't think at all. And what's really sad about all this, man, is that the Peruvian military, they sent out 2 cops, bro. They sent out 2 officers to the village to investigate.
yeah.
2 officers.
I mean, what are you gonna do if someone calls and says, "Hey, there's a face peeling alien out here, almost tried to steal my face"? I mean, they probably didn't even take it seriously. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, even though it was kind of like documented, the leader of the tribe made a video online about it. Like he posted a video online. I don't know if it was him or somebody that that he knows. They posted a video of him kind of like coming out and saying, "Oh, these are extraterrestrials. I know for a fact that these are extraterrestrials, and we were invaded, and we would shoot at it, and nothing would happen. They were impervious to bullets, and so." And that's another thing that gets me. It's like, not only do these beings have this crazy technology that allows them to fly at will, that's completely silent and in the air, right? But now we have a flying entity that is bulletproof. And that is.
I have a question for you. Is this chick who got abducted, does she know English? Does she speak English?
No.
So
She's a kid. She's 14.
Yeah. Okay. So we can't say for sure that they were speaking English because she heard something that in her fear state, she might have gone, "Oh, that sounds like English." But if she doesn't speak English, then for all we know, it could have been any language that might even maybe it sounded remotely close to English in the moment to a non-English speaker who's 14, who was obviously scared for her life.
So here's the thing. one of her almost captors, right? One of the assailants spoke in Spanish, the same way that the Peruvian people, the same dialect, and he was communicating with the gringo while they were trying to abduct her.
What if the aliens had a technology to where different languages instantly get like translated?
Yeah, that's honestly, I didn't think about that. Maybe there is.
Or they're communicating telepathically, and because she was picking up on the telepathic waves, she was getting it interpreted through the fucking consciousness of the universe.
That right there. Hey, that's also another possibility, and that's we could definitely leave that on the table. I mean, as terrifying as it is, I would hope they're not humans.
And she said they're 7 foot tall, but at the end of the day, she's a little girl, right? And I don't know if you've seen like someone wearing maybe like football pads and cleats standing next to you. But that gives people like a good 4 inches at 5 inches and definitely like some girth, right?
Not just
so
her,
if these
though.
guys were, so if these people or whatever they are, maybe they're wearing battle suits. If it's a person and they're wearing like a battle suit, like the fucking suit that they got in Halo, that would probably make someone who's like 6'3" look like they're 7 feet tall or something.
That's another thing. Yeah. And they even said they likened their appearance to the Green Goblin from Spider-Man. Like their entire getup was like Green Goblin. Like if you put a picture of them next to the Green Goblin,
Yeah.
side by side, there's ultimately like no
What if
difference.
what if it's not alien and it's not human? What if it's something paranormal? Like it's a demon or a evil like spirit, like a banshee. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's even more terrifying. Yeah, because if these banshees are like, or if this kind of entity could just disappear. I mean, ghosts and banshees and like creatures like that, right? Cryptids like that.
Yeah. So
They
are you gonna stay out of Peru then?
Nah, I'm about visiting it, bro.
Oh, you want to go?
I want to go,
You want to
bro.
experience?
Hell yeah.
See, I feel like if I hear of a phenomenon like that happening in a specific location, I'm more if I believe it, I'm more likely to want to stay away. Like we've been talking about maybe going to like the Superstition Mountains or another one that's out here. I forget what it's called, but there's like a witch that lives on top.
Right.
And I told you this story that my girlfriend swears is true, my fiance. She said when she was in 8th grade, a group of seniors from her high school went and camped out on this mountain that's known to have a witch that protects it. And these are all like Indian lands, right? And a lot of the phenomenon out here, the lore in Arizona is based on Indian curses and whatnot. But apparently these group of seniors, they went up and camped in the mountains one weekend. And I think maybe if there was like 8 of them, like 1 or 2 of them survived and the rest of them were like found beheaded on the mountain.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And so like when I hear about that, yes, I go, that'd be fun content. That'd be fun to explore, like a paranormal investigation almost. But if it's real, I'm also extra hesitant to want to go out there camp just for fucking content, you know?
I mean, content's a mandatory thing, right? So like if we do end up going to the Superstition Mountains or to like any of these crazy locations, content is key. So definitely going to bring the cameras, all kinds of like equipment with us to document everything. But that's not the primary motivation. I think that the motivation is to kind of figure out if this is real, right? If this is just all pillow talk. You know what I mean?
But if the win is confirming if it's real, then doesn't that mean for us to win, we have to essentially be in danger?
Yeah. I think it's high risk, high reward, baby.
So then you got to hope that you escape.
Yeah. I think escape is either fight or flight, baby. I mean, stay adrenaline, bro.
I think this will be one of those investigations where we're live streaming and I'll be back at the base camp looking at the feed and talking to you in your ear.
I'm dragging you out, bro. Nope. We'll hire someone to sit in a van and play it safe.
You can't be sitting in a van. You got to be sitting in a fucking big ass room in a building. If you're in a van, you're exposed. You're just sitting. You're a sitting duck. Have you ever seen those fucking horror movies?
Yeah, I have. I think it's definitely for the thrill of it. I think that's definitely one of the aspects. When I was doing paranormal investigation, one of the things that really like I got a kick out of was the adrenaline rush that you get when you're sitting alone in a room, knowing that somebody died in that room. We went to the Castillo de San Marcos, right? And it's like this fort in St. Augustine. St. Augustine is one of the oldest cities in the United States, right? And if you've ever been there, you'll know that place looks old as fuck. And the fort had a dungeon, right? And the dungeon itself, there were people that were, of course, killed in that dungeon. That's where people went to go suffer. And when you go in that dungeon, you literally have to crawl your way into it. It's not like something that you could just open a door. When you get inside that dungeon, the vibe that you feel in that dungeon is something that is so unexplainable that you feel a weight on your chest, you feel a weight on your shoulders, you start feeling dizzy. It's like the weirdest and strangest thing. So yeah, I do think that when you go to a specific location or or a specific place to find out if if not only it's real, right? If there's some essence to some validity to the actual claim, I think that's definitely a plus. But also experiencing it is something that is it's something that everyone should at least try to experience once in their life, for sure.
Is paranormal investigating? Is that what you're talking
Not
about?
only like just like even just like I'm talking about like in general, right? Getting outside your comfort zone and doing something that you really really don't want to do because you're a little terrified of it. As long as you're like safe, I mean, try it out. Um, we've heard stories of people getting stuck in caves and like never getting out. Not shit like that. But why do people go wall climbing and like rock climbing? Not wall climbing, but rock climbing and shit like that without a fucking harness. I mean, it's just the thrill of it, man. It's just the thrill of it. It's fun. I think it's way
Yeah.
safer to visit the Superstition Mountains as long as we're carrying, some protection at least. I feel like that'll be a fun trip.
Man, I don't know about that. I think it'll be fun. I definitely want to do paranormal investigation, but having experienced paranormal things, like at each time scared out of my fucking mind, I uh am extra hesitant to go. But I watch the videos and I always get the like FOMO, like I want to be there. I want to
Yeah.
experience the adrenaline rush, but at the same time, now that we're talking about it, I'm like, damn, I am not gonna go fucking sit in a dark ass room with fucking these radio waves going psh, 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 death, psh, 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 died. Psh, psh, psh. Oh no, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, dude.
But I love watching that shit.
Yeah, I asked a ghost one time with a spirit box. I'll never forget it. I'm like, what do you believe in? And it goes Christ, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what? Like, out of all the things that you could have said, and this wasn't like one of the modern spirit boxes that people use, that investigators use these days. This actually scans through the radio waves, like through the radio channels. I'm sorry, the radio channels, and then gathers words from it. And so it's like not necessarily, bless you. It's not necessarily like like a database of words. So I think that the old spirit box is like the true OG of like spirit boxes. But yeah, man, it's fun. It's fun.
People still use those spirit boxes though, all the time with the radio waves and stuff. I feel like I believe those more than I believe like the little boxes that spit out words.
Words, yeah.
I actually watched this video of this YouTuber. I forget his name. I think it's John something, but he's debunked a lot of like these ghost videos that go around the internet. And the episode that really got me into his content was when he was debunking the Conjuring series that Sam and Colby recently did. And I don't know if you saw that series, but basically, there was two psychics on there that whenever they held each other's hands or whatever. And this is a couple,
Cody and Satori.
Yeah. They could communicate with spirits, and you would hear these things like walking around. You would feel the wood moving where these spirits are stepping. You could hear knocks and stuff. This guy really just showed like the method to the madness of how they do that and whatnot. And I'm like, damn, very skeptical of, obviously, Cody and Satori aside, he even debunked a lot of the devices on how they could give like false readings and whatnot. And he was basically on the website where the people buy those boxes that they just give you words, and it claims that it's like the modern spirit box. But he like read the owner's manual, he read the descriptions on the website, and he said it's really not clear how this thing works, because they kind of just like breeze over the technology of how it works. And he said, so the fact that these things are spitting out a bunch of like paranormal words, you almost think that these words are kind of preloaded in there to give out words like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's that snake oil shit, bro.
Yeah. So I actually think, I don't know why people don't take it as bigger evidence, but I think it's way crazier if you're having a conversation like the Estes method, where someone's listening to the spirit box with headphones and they can't hear the questions that you're asking, and you ask a question and it responds. The times where it happens in real time, but also it's like actual fitting responses consistently over and over again, where you're actually having a conversation. Those are what blow my mind.
Yeah.
And I think those are legit.
Yeah, even
But,
EVPs.
I mean,
EVPs are even another great kind of like piece of evidence, because you're recording something and then you're asking questions, then you only find the answer in the recording once you play it back, and so
yeah.
that's another one. Yeah, but the
You ever
Codians,
hear about that? What is that, like recorder that went out of production because people were saying it was faulty and it was giving out like a bunch of like weird noises in the recording, and now paranormal investigators use it because you'll record something and you ask a question and you go around the group and everybody asks a question, and then you play back the recording and you'll hear like you ask a question and it'll respond really loud. You ever seen those things?
I know.
And it's only on the recording. I wonder about that one, because those are crazy, because sometimes you hear like growls and like screams, or just like clear ass responses that some reason the recorder fills the dead noise in the recording with. And I don't know how it works, but I know like every time I see those on those paranormal investigation channels, they always say like, oh yeah, this is this XYZ recorder. They actually were stopped making these because of XYZ reason. But a lot of the paranormal investigators have that, and that kind of blows my mind. That's like a really amplified like EVP in a way.
Yeah, where did you hear about this?
Just see it on random channels where they're paranormal investigating.
Yeah.
I've seen it a handful of times on different channels.
That's wild. Yeah, I never heard about that. That's crazy. So it's like a voice recorder, like a digital recorder that has false voices in it because it's like faulty, or like is it like
when they stopped producing it because it would pick up noises that weren't on the original recording, like when they recorded it. And so I guess paranormal investigators found out that like it's actually picking up spirit noises or whatever is what they think, or EVPs, and it's just like blowing up the sound, like amplifying it. And so like you'll turn it on, you'll hit record, and you're just standing there in the room, and they show the cameras recording, and they go around the room and ask a question like, are you in this room with us? You know, are any of us in danger? Blah, blah, blah. And then they play back the recording, and you saw them ask the questions on the camera, but the recording goes, is there anybody in this room with us? And you'll just hear, I'm here. And then the next person will ask the question, are we in danger? Get out. You know? And it's crazy.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I can't believe that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The whole Cody and Satori thing is pretty crazy, right? Because like they call themselves the human Ouija board, where they like interlock hands, and then she just starts saying A, B, C, D, E, and then she'll pick out a letter, and then it'll be D, and it'll form a sentence.
They teach the spirit how to communicate knocks. They say, I'm going to go through the alphabet, knock when I'm on the correct letter, and it spells it out, right? And their whole thing is they say, we don't accept money. We don't do this for profit. And that's where the seed of doubt is planted, because once you debunk that they actually do this for profit and they're making a lot of fucking money, then you start to question everything. And, you know, here's the thing. This is, to me, it feels like a magic trick. And this is from someone who myself used to be really into fucking magic. Like, and I would be all buying all the gimmicks and the tricks and whatnot on websites. Like, long story short, the only reason I got out of magic, and I would practice every day just to myself, and I do it sometimes around like groups of people, but like I noticed girls don't really fucking vibe with it. Like some of them,
bro.
yeah.
Chris Angel, I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah, but it's gimmicky. It's gimmicky. It's and now also from someone who's also a dating coach, right? The first email list I was on was magician websites buying magic tricks. I unsubscribed when I got into pickup, and it asked a reason, like, why do you want to unsubscribe? Like, give us some feedback. And I said, magic tricks never got me girls. Talking to girls got me girls, right? And so, but long story short, like the whole concept of like Knox, that seems like a stage show type of magic trick,
bro.
And so,
sus.
What?
I agree, sus, bro.
Yeah.
For Knox like that to be that consistent, I don't know, bro. Something's fishy, bro. Something's fishy about all that.
Well, long story short, a lot of magicians have come out and basically shown the method to do that. It's from an actual magician standpoint, and it's very convincing. And a lot of it has to do with there's like a little switcher that they have in their sock or something, and it's got a button on it. When he hits the button, like it fires off this like thing that just goes and it like hits the wood or something. And so they can do it anywhere because basically you can have one of those in your shoe where it kind of hits the ground or knocks the ground. But in the Conjuring house is especially prevalent because you hear it all around the room. And so the idea is, one, they do this for profit because they're employed by the Conjuring house, and they say we don't seek people out to do like we don't just seek people out, or like when people come to us and want us to do readings, we only do this for people who naturally cross our paths. Well, not only do they like run and manage the Conjuring house, but they are also there basically every day. And they do that every day for all the tours that come in. And this guy points out on the video, she said, oh yeah, like yesterday we did 4 tours of 25 people each or whatever. And so like, no, it's like either 4 or like 13 or whatever, but regardless, they're all paying like $50 a pop or whatever. And so they're making thousands of dollars every day doing this, attracting people to the Conjuring house. And this in itself made me feel like, holy shit, the Conjuring house is just a business like anything else. And they charge influencers like $13.50 a night to stay overnight and whatever. And so it's definitely a very thriving business. Makes me think that the lights are rigged to flicker periodically. The doors are probably rigged to open periodically, and same with cabinets and shelves and whatnot. And also the floorboards have these fucking knockers built into them. So that way, whenever they press the button or whatever, it fucking knocks, right? And the thing that really sold me on in his video is he said that they started taking Cody and Satori everywhere, to the park, to different locations to do it. And one time they went inside and you could tell that the body language, they were kind of nervous. And they're like, okay, we're in this like dance studio or whatever. You think it'd be appropriate to take off our shoes? And basically Cody and Satori, like basically for the first time, we're like looking at each other. It's like, we got to talk about this real quick. And then they came back and they're like, yeah, we can't take off our shoes. That's like a no-go for us. And bro, there you go. It's fucking in the shoes. And here's the crazy part is that the knocking act was actually done by 2 twin sisters who had a similar shtick in the 1920s. And they actually, when they were in their 80s, kind of came out and exposed their method. They practiced cracking bones in their fucking toes to like get that pop noise.
For people that are chilling with us, do you want to go ahead and show them like what we're talking about real quick? Here, I already have it pulled up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, let's go ahead and show it. I didn't know that was a thing before though. Like that was a thing in the 1920s, you said? That's wild.
Yeah. And Cody said, and Satori actually addressed that because they're like, and people have said theories that we're cracking our bones like the sisters back in the 1920s, and that is just not true. You're right. I think it's because they fucking rigged the house with to like be knocking and shit.
Yeah. Well, let's look at this. Can you hear this?
Tom, A, B, B. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, O. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G.
I think I know who's here.
2. A, B, C, D, E, E. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N.
Tom Bogan? Is that what that just said?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
my God.
There's excitement here.
That's my grandpa who passed away about a year ago.
Yo, so pause it right here. So this was also debunked in the video. Basically, they say we only do it for people who cross our paths naturally. Well, it's the people who go to the Conjuring house, and they like, you wonder like, how do they fucking know these people's family members, people who recently passed away, et cetera, et cetera. When they go to the Conjuring house, they have to fill out a bunch of fucking forms with all their information. So this is stuff that they definitely could access by Googling and researching, you know, in the downtime between they fill out the fucking forms and then they start this fucking act later on in the day.
There were some things in this video though, because I did watch this documentary or whatever you want to call it from Project Fear. He does say that there were some things that are impossible to find online because they came into it knowing that that could be a possibility, that Cody and Satori could actually, you know, be doing some groundwork before they start their little, you know, live Ouija board session. So in a way, I mean, I don't know, because if you keep watching, like if you watch the whole, I mean, it's like a long video, but if you watch the whole thing, there were some things that I was like, damn, like how did they know that? Right. But again, you know, you never know. You can't be gullible either. Right. You can't be just like, yeah. I mean, it's a business.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, I've definitely experienced things I can't explain in my own life. But I think after watching that guy's video, I'm convinced. You know, this is like a 2-hour deep dive that this dude did. His video was 2 hours long. Damn. I can only imagine what got cut out, you know. Damn.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But I don't know. I don't know. You know, maybe they're real. Maybe they're real.
I'm not in their defense. I'm just saying, like, I like to look at both sides and be like, okay, I don't know. I mean, a lot of the shit that they are saying is, I mean, they got these people crying, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty crazy. But again, I do catch, like,
well, once you start saying names of deceased family members and then you say, hey, they say we're okay, we're with you. I mean,
of course,
if you can get them to believe step A, you know, then whatever, you can say whatever the fuck you want and bring the emotions out. You know, I don't take that as compelling evidence.
Right. But then again, like when, for example, like when they brought up Tommy, like I think it was his grandpa, one of the questions or one of the things that Tommy, quote unquote, says is cigarettes or something like that, or like a brand of cigar that he used to smoke when he was alive, and he used to smoke it all the time, and then the investigator Dakota was like, oh my god, yeah, that was like his favorite cigar. And so how would they know that, right? How would they know that that specific brand of cigar? He even said that his grandpa was never online or like on social media, but you never know. Maybe a family member took a photo of him smoking that specific cigar, and then, you know, they did their groundwork beforehand. And I mean, I don't know. It sounds like it definitely sounds kind of, it can be schemed 100%.
Yeah. And I feel the same way about mentalism, knowing that mentalism is a trick.
The fuck is that?
You've never seen these magician acts, the mentalists?
No, what is that?
Mentalists basically specialize in trying to guess things or predict things or read your mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I have.
There's like some magicians who are really into card magic, some magicians who are really into fucking spinning plates. There's some magicians who are into mentalism. And there's a lot of key fundamentals of mentalism, and then you can reinvent different presentations of it.
Right.
But I feel the same when someone goes, think of a card, any card, and then they guess what fucking card, or think of a name from someone in your childhood. We haven't talked about this before, right? No, we haven't. Okay, think of someone from your childhood. All right, now think of another person. Okay, now think of a third person. Okay, now think of someone from your childhood who nobody in this room would know or have ever heard of, right? And these people have a name now. He goes, okay, write it down on a piece of paper so I can't change it or whatever, or you can't change it. It's locked in stone, right? And actually, you know what? They don't even write it down, but he goes, I take out a piece of paper and he goes, okay, I'm going to guess it. I'm writing down a name. Okay, I'm showing the room the name that you thought of. Okay, for the first time ever, say what the person you were thinking of. And it's like some fucking random ass name like Monkey Boy. And they go, oh, I have Monkey Boy written here. How do they fucking do that? I don't fucking know. But if someone can do that, which is a trick, they can certainly guess a fucking brand of cigar that's their grandfather used to smoke.
Right. Yeah. There's all kinds of fuckery. Yeah.
There's methods to the madness. I don't know what they are, but I know it's possible.
Amen to that. Yeah. I agree. It could definitely be, tampered with 100% and faked. Yeah. But, it's fun to think about it, it's just crazy how people can like really like, if hats off, man, like if you could really fucking pull something like that off. Right.
I mean, to each his own. Also the Cody guy, in Cody and Satori, he's had a company where he used to make paranormal equipment.
Yep. I know about that. Yeah. He used to work for Ghost Hunters, right? Or something like that. Yeah. He used to be like one of the,
much about that.
Yeah. He was like one of the producers for Ghost Hunters, like early in the beginning or production assistants for that. Yeah. And so that's how he kind of got his way in. But yeah, he used to work on like their equipment and shit like that. And so, yeah.
Definitely it's definitely believable that he could figure out how to rig a fucking little thing that taps, the wood.
Easily. Yeah. I got sus vibes from them, if I'm being honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Especially her. I've seen interviews where she's like, I don't know. I get like the vibe that she's like very pretentious. Yeah. I don't know. That's just me though.
It's kind of cute though. She's got this like, how there's like horse girls. She's got this cute like ghost girl thing going. You know what I'm saying?
Ghost girl.
Yeah. Ghost girl. Do you believe in succubus?
Succubuses?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there may be sexually motivated ghosts or entities, you could call them. Yeah. Something that's terrifying is a person that would live and then do like really, really fucked up shit to people, like rape and murder, and then die and become a succubus or an incubus. That's something that would be fucking, that's horrifying. Yeah. I mean, there have been stories of succubi.
I'm pretty sure I almost had sex with one.